something going on here, man. These are not problems.
Catching my fever, lock the passage of the last weaver. You don't love my squad, fuck you, we don't love your ass neither. Way up the meter.
Yo, boss, me and Split, we got heaters. Everything I let's get a drink up inside the cheaters. Go off and cheaters. See this motherfucker named Peter try to stick me for 5 bricks with his bronze get skeezer.
Word is born, I murder any bitch that fuck with my niggas.
Blow a hole up in your body, straight to smash in your finger. Hey, yo, where I digger?
Scoping out the little place chicken. Bitch, stay tricking. Fucking with my niggas, go and get a face kicked
Hey,
in.
yo, Split, what you staring at? Them bitches over there? Or them bitches over there? Or them bitches right there?
Nah, that nigga online. Motherfucker drunk off a stir Bacardi in line.
Split, I feel this way. If it's for my squad, let's play. Back him against the door, patch his body with gauze. Marble the floors, splatter nigga blood on the walls.
Bust that nigga shit, make that nigga suffer for yours.
And if they run up in your crib again, I got your back.
Always keep the heat on me, son.
I got your back.
I'ma hold you down until I die.
I got your back.
And if you ever need stacks, yo,
I got your back. If I kill him and get knocked, I got your back. And if your bail is 100 G, I got your back.
Any nigga try to set you up,
I got your back. You let me set the shit on first, I got your back. Fuck waiting, bash his face for a statement. Got the stainless, make his whole chest cave in. Ooh, shit is changing, my whole adrenaline is racing. Blow this nigga shit like a horror flick, Wes Craven.
yo, boss, Split, chill.
Fuck you talking about?
Don't do that nigga nothing.
Fuck that.
Blow that nigga family up just for
You with
fun.
a bitch that was with the nigga.
Caught her with the left, choked her by the halter, bitch bloody to death. Then the hoe started crying by the hand nails, getting stuck with the shit.
I heard that bitch nigga yell, poor Peter man by the speaker. He looked me in my eye, didn't even know I was his brother's keeper. Slap the nigga, throw him in the sleeper.
Deeper and deeper. Nigga bitches start to black out, straight Grim Reaper. Still looking for that nigga Peter.
Chill, let's bounce. Split the top about a half an ounce. If he's hot, then we gon' find him on the aisle for needle. Yeah, that's the shit I'm talking about. Let's go fuck with his people. Nigga got a sister.
Yeah, she work up in Kids World. I don't know for sure. I think the nigga live with his girl.
Get a nigga go, let hit him with the 4-5 chrome.
Chill, Split, we gon' trail this nigga bitch ass home. Rush the crib. Kill the bitch while she ain't even looking. Still all fucked up from the last ass whooping. Chop the bitch up. Caught up in this foul mix up. Tore wide open bitch, need a major stitch up. Dig a ditch up with no bloodhounds to sniff
Yo,
up.
bury that bitch, don't leave a scent the dog will pick up.
Oh shit, yo, y'all hear somebody coming from the upstairs bathroom where I hear the water run.
Fuck that, that a motherfucker go right there. I want him off of here, make the nigga cool for a beer. Yo, let me lift.
Wait, before that, let me go kiss him.
Put 5 in his head, wrap him in the bedspread. Fled from the scenery without nobody seeing me. My squad swore to secrecy. If anybody asks about it, we ain't seen him recently. I got your back. Any nigga ever try to front, I got your back.
And if you ever need my burner, son,
I got your back.
Hey yo, I hit you with my last guy.
I got your back.
any bitch step out of place.
I got your back. And if I got it, go defend you. I got your back. Let me snuff that nigga talking shit. I got your back.
I go against the world for my squad.
I got your back. I got your back. I got your back. I got your back. I got your back.
I'm living every day like a hustle, another drug to juggle, another day, another struggle. I don't wanna live no more. Sometimes I hear death knocking at my front door. I'm living every day like a hustle, another drug to juggle, another day, another struggle. I know how it feel to wake up fucked up, pockets broke as hell, another rock to sell. People look at you like you's the user, selling drugs to all the losers, mad Buddha abuser. But they don't know about your stress-filled day. Baby on the way, mad bills to pay. That's why you drink Tanqueray, so you can reminisce and wish you wasn't living so devilish. Shit, I remember I was just like you, smoking blunts with my crew, flipping over 62s, cause GED wasn't B.I.G. I got P.A.I.D. That's why my mom hate me. She was forced to kick me out, no doubt. Then I figured out niggas went for 20s down south. Packed up my tools for my raw power moves. Block 19 for casket and flower moves. For chumps trying to stop my call him two texts, he told two texts. And when he start the bus, he like to ask who's next. I got my honey on the Amtrak with the crack in the crack of her ass. 2 pounds of hash in the stash. Away for honey in the quick cash. I told her she could be lieutenant, bitch got gas. At last, I'm literally lounging black, sitting back counting double-digit thousand stacks. Had to re-up to see what's up with my peeps. Toyota dealer gone, had it cheap on the Jeep. See who got smoked, what rumors were spread. Last I heard I was dead with 6 to the head. Then I got the phone call, it couldn't hit me harder. We got infiltrated, like Nino at the Carter. Heard Tech got murdered in the town I never heard of by some bitch named Alberta over nickel-plated burners. And my bitch, swear to God she won't snitch. I told her when she hit the bricks, I make the hooker rich. Conspiracy, she'll be home in 3. Until then I looks out for the whole family. A true G, that's me, blowing like a bubble in the everyday struggle. I don't wanna live no more. Sometimes I hear death knocking at my front door. I'm living every day like a hustle. Another drug to juggle. Another day, another struggle. I don't wanna live no more. Sometimes I hear death knocking at my front door. I'm living every day like a hustle. Another drug to juggle. Another day, another struggle. I'm seeing body after body, and I Mayor Giuliani ain't trying to see no black man turn to John Gotti. My daughter use a potty, so she's older now. Hey, the street knowledge, I'm a molder now. Trick a little dough, buying young girls fringes. Healing them with the dope fiend binges. Seeing syringes in the vein, hard to explain how I maintain. The crack smoke make my brain feel so strange. Breaking days, no sweat, drunk off my wet. Can't bag yet because it's still wet. But when I drive back at 5 at a time, I can clock about 9 on the check cashing line. I had the first and the third, rehearsed that in the game. These knew my first name. Should I quit shit? No, even though they had me scared, yo, they got an 8, I got a check with air holes. And that's just how the shit go in the struggle, motherfucker.
Come on. What you say?
I don't wanna live no more. Sometimes I hear death knocking at my front door. I'm living every day like a hustle. Another drug to juggle. Another day, another struggle. I don't wanna live no more. Sometimes I hear death knocking at my front door. I'm living every day like a hustle. Another drug to juggle. Another day, another struggle. I don't wanna live no more. Sometimes I hear death knocking at my front door. I'm living every day like a hustle. Another drug to juggle. Another day, another struggle. I don't wanna live no more. Sometimes I hear death knocking at my front door. I'm living every day like a hustle. Another drug to juggle. Another day, another struggle. Junior Mafia, right?
Yeah. Rock on. Biggie Smalls.
These the last days. These the last days. These the last days. These the last days.
It's all about taking my own life into my own hands. RBG, refine, be a grown man. See, that's what I'm doing, cause I know it's inside of me. All I gotta do is just bring it to reality. It's fuck government, but still I gotta pay the rent. So yeah, I'm for the caper, most definite. Keeping it militant, focused, intelligent. Pimping the system is basic common sense. It's still fuck the bit. Black power ain't dead. All that red, white, and blue shit be going to your head. See, we break bread, it's like a game or a sport. Gotta train every day to keep your team on point. Cause still, to this day, our reparations ain't paid. And you can see it in the poverty around the way. It ain't even our own people on BET. So they gotta get it from somebody, it might well be me. Besides, a nigga gotta eat when he hungry. You see how they send troops to war for their country. Niggas worldwide need an army of one. It's revolution to the fullest, put the bullets in the gun, nigga.
These the last days. 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 These the last days.
Peace. Black Power family. It's your boy Psychopath Black at you. Okay. I see we got Truthfully Honest up in here. Give me 1 second, family. I'm trying to get everybody situated. What's good, Truthfully?
Peace, how you doing? Shalom, everybody.
All right. I'm trying to get everybody else in here. Okay. So Renee got the link. Okay. She all right. So I ain't got to worry about that. Okay. All right. Yeah, family. You gave the link to Haven. Everybody.
Yeah, it's in the back. I'm a copy it and
Okay. All right. Okay, what's good? What's good out there, family? Everybody hit a one if y'all hear it's good. Y'all should. Let me know if I'm too loud. I look like I'm too loud. Shout out to everybody out in live chat. Shout out to Channel Zero. Captain, what's going on? Nikki.
okay.
Let's see who else. KD, what's going on? Lamont Hill was good. Craig, what's going on? Let's see. Anybody? Mark Black was good. Let's see who else out there. I miss everybody. I think I got everybody. What's going on, everybody? We're going to get it in tonight with the information. Okay, we got Haven up in here now. Together.
Peace, peace, peace.
Peace, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, I'm good.
What's good, Haven? How you?
I'm good, bro.
All right, I'm just up here still getting everything set up. Waiting for Renee to come in here. I don't know where she at. All right.
Well, okay. I'll wait.
I mean, y'all can go ahead and just get it going. I'm not sure exactly how y'all going to set this up, but go ahead.
Okay, then. Well, I saw the video that Haven had done, and no one's really speaking out about what the indigenous community is really doing to our people because they really don't have any solutions at all. They kind of like want to pee on the hydrant and say this is ours, but there's no like what's next, what after that. So I was really feeling his video. I'm glad he made it. He had the guts to make it. Because not a lot of people are going up and saying anything.
Thank you, Queen. Thank you. Thank you.
So
yes.
go ahead, brother.
No. I'm saying you had something to ask me. You was about to say something else.
No, not yet. No.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll just talk about the video a little bit. Yes, I made the video because I wasn't gonna deal with the whole indigenous topic. I stayed away from it because it was like last time I talked to somebody who claimed to be indigenous, it's turned into an argument, and then I got a headache because it was like, come on now, this is ridiculous. So I just left it alone. But I said, if somebody starts scamming, I found out somebody's scamming, even though I know the indigenous thing came out of a scam. If I said until I find somebody who actually is like running a scam, like trying to get money out to people, or they started talking about how nobody else has any solutions or something like that, I would leave them alone. But anytime somebody would ask me about it, I would make sure to tell them that it's not real, tell them where it came from, and all that. So, but I had recently found out Don Calloway is scamming, and I found out that a bunch of people was talking about Pan-Africanism is dead. It does nothing for nobody. This indigenous stuff, it can help you and all that other stuff. Then I had to shut it down because I basically threw down the gauntlet to them because because in the video she's talking about, I talk about how there are actually black people who were freedmen connected to those tribes, and they have successfully sued in court for money and land. So I threw down the challenge to the indigenous folk, like this is what you're gonna do. If you're really indigenous and you really all this stuff that you claiming you are, go to court and get your money and get your land. Don't get off the internet trying to convince people by talking about lookership and making up stuff and talking about the oldest pyramids in the world and there was black people here in the 50,000 years ago. Get off the internet with all that. You go right now to the court and say you are who you say you are. And trust me, if you are, the courts will roll with you and you'll get your money. Get off the internet. What you on the internet for? Those other people who declared themselves to be the descendants of slaves taken by Native Americans. They the descendants of Americans. They just went up there and went to court and got their money. So if you're claiming to actually be the real quote unquote Native Americans, the indigenous Americans, the ones who made all these treaties, you need to be getting your money because the other people getting theirs. The quote unquote fake Native Americans getting their money. The quote unquote fake slaves of the Native Americans is getting that money. Y'all real indigenous Native Americans, y'all need to go get that money. And nobody has responded to it yet because they can't respond to it. Why? Because why are you on the internet when there's real money, real land to be gotten? We talking about millions of dollars. We talking about hundreds of square miles of land. I wouldn't be on the internet talking to none of y'all if I had all that in my grasp right now. I wouldn't be playing the game, arguing with nobody on the internet to believe a claim of mine or not.
So that what was in the package was a way to help people track down their history and possibly figure out if they are indigenous or something. Was that the whole thing that Dan Calloway was selling in the package? Like what? Because you mentioned that he was
That's
like
him. That was him
scamming the people. Like I mean, I have not seen one leader yet.
Like I said,
they're all doing it. So I was just they have a plan to do it. So I was just wondering, like, was that what the package was supposed to be for? Was to help you realize who you are or find the proof of who you are?
No. That package was a straight scam. Like that video you was talking about, that was me throwing down the gauntlet and throwing out the challenge to the Aboriginal community. But the other video with Dan Calloway, that was me exposing him as a scammer. Because I told people a long time ago, I said, listen, this indigenous stuff comes from the Moors. Because you had the Yamaseen Moors claiming to be indigenous. They was going to court, actually suing to try to claim that they was indigenous, and they had all these treaties with the federal court, and they lost as usual. And they was trying to steal land. They was sovereign citizens, and they got in trouble. Then you had Dr. York pick it up. Because remember, when he was going through his trial, he was calling himself Chief Thunderbird, and he was wearing a fez. Talking about he Chief Thunderbird L and all that other stuff. Talking about he's indigenous and he's Moor and all that. Well, Dan Calloway basically took all the Moorish indigenous information, dropped the Moorish stuff, and kept their indigenous information. Like all of his quote unquote proof is all stuff I have seen Moors put out time and time and time again. And it was confirmed to me that he did in fact copy the Moors because when you look at his package that he's selling for $39.99, it's a bunch of sovereign citizen Moorish stuff. And then when you actually buy the package, because I'm about to make a video with the actual purchase package, the stuff you get, it actually says Moorish America, Moorish Science Temple of America, all that sovereign citizen stuff that Tariq Bey and all them other losers be selling, that be getting people locked up, like, and getting people beat up by police, like in all those videos I post on my No Face Killer channel. It's the same paperwork, word for word. Same paperwork. Same paperwork, word for word.
Okay. So, and also you had stated that you are now the feather collector. So I do like that title. That was nice, a nice add-on. But you were saying that the former people, they was claiming that they were enslaved by the Indians. That's how they were claiming that they were Aboriginal. They were former slaves.
They weren't claiming to be Aboriginal. That's the whole thing. Those people who the Aboriginals, because a lot of times the Aboriginals will show you pictures of black people with feathers on and on reservations. Those are actually, and they'll say, see, we've been indigenous. This is documentation. And people don't know, those are pictures of slaves and the descendants of slaves, because the Native Americans owned slaves too. The Native Americans were the last people to free their slaves, because when the Civil War was over, America had to go back and make the Native Americans free their slaves. The last slaves to get freedom in America were the ones who was enslaved by the Native Americans. The Native Americans actually fought on the side of the South during the Civil War to keep slavery going. So those were the descendants of slaves. Those people never once claimed to be Aboriginal nothing. I was just highlighting how the Aboriginals are showing pictures of them while claiming that proves that blacks are aboriginal to this land when it proves nothing. Those are, if you know the context of those pictures, you know those people are slaves. And if you talk to any of those people, they will tell you we are the descendants of slaves.
Okay, so for people that don't understand, you had said in the beginning of that video, the reason why you even made the video is because somebody had disrespected you on the panel. Other than that, you wouldn't have made it.
Yes,
So,
cause yes, somebody did, because they constantly kept talking over me. Like it was obvious when you know once how somebody acts when they don't want that information out there, where they will talk for like a half an hour straight, and you can't say something, you can't talk for 30 seconds without them trying to cut you off, talk over you. So I'm like, all right, since you want to be disrespectful, this is gonna be bigger than that. Because I'm gonna put this question out here, and none of your Aboriginal teachers who you're following behind are gonna be able to answer it, nor debunk this other information I'm putting out there. And I already just dagged Dan Calloway, and he's the big Aboriginal who 99% of these people running around claiming to be Aboriginals got all their information from. He can't come back for that. He's flagging me. I'm about to make the video showing that he's flagging my videos because I exposed him as the scammer he was. He's just a dude who used to be a failed rapper, a failed game YouTuber who found a new hustle, who found the indigenous hustle.
okay, so I don't understand why everybody has to have a hustle. Like, if you're really about your people and spreading awareness to your people, there shouldn't always have to be a money scheme to it. Like, people get mad when assets get taken away, or they get mad when they feel like they're being gypped. And I'm like, if you're doing it for a price, then you're not really doing it for your people. And when you start doing it for a price, then the price gets bigger and bigger, and then you start doing more to get that money. And eventually, you might have to stoop down to line and manipulating your own. So I don't really. Once they start bringing up money and all that, I look sideways, like, okay, you up to something, and more than
Um,
likely scamming, stealing, manipulating. It's something.
And peace,
no, no,
y'all.
Peace,
Peace,
Renee.
y'all. Peace, Psycho.
peace,
Peace,
sister.
Javen. Peace, truthfully.
Peace.
Peace,
How you
peace.
doing? How you
Good,
doing?
good. I'm just good. Just listen. Y'all go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just was
Was
thinking what's
they
up, and I'm here.
okay? Was they flagging the video that I was speaking of? Was that one?
Um, People were trying to, but they didn't get that. The one that's got flagged is the video of me showing Dan Calloway rapping, and he flagged that video. But I got another video coming where I got him thanking Jesus and all that, and I got one compare it to the other video where he talked about how Jesus is the white man's religion, and that they took our religion and put the native on it. Like he's a full blown scammer. That's what I'm trying to get across about Dan Calloway. He doesn't believe that information. He knows he's black, and his ancestors came from slavery. Some slave ships came to America. He knows that. He's just scamming people. He's no different than Bro Sanchez. Bro Sanchez know the world ain't flat. He's just putting that out there because there's money to be made. Just like all
Right.
these Moorish dudes put out this information about this paperwork and how you don't need a driver's license. Wow, they got driver's license. I already
Mm-hmm.
put that out there. Like with the biggest dudes who put that, you don't need a driver's license, you don't need license plates, you don't need a passport to travel. They have all that. They have all that. They have all that. That's what people got to understand. This ain't about helping nobody. This is about scamming people for as much money as humanly possible before people catch on. That's what this is about. He know he ain't no indigenous. He know he got a driver's license. He know all that. Now you trying
Mm-hmm.
to sell people papers that can get them to get rid of their driver's license, get them passports, get them their proper nationality. All that garbage.
And
Am
just
I?
that.
Go ahead, sis. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, to add to that, yeah, he's absolutely right. And if here's the thing, if this stuff really worked the way it did, honey, the prisons would be empty. The prisons would be empty. If this is all you got to do is do this paperwork and have this like this and then these people have no jurisdiction over you, and they have no this and they have no that. You know, things would be way different if it really did work. There's not some secret that these people have, besides they know that there are people out there willing to be gullible, because the sad part about it is they take a lot of these people. That's why I don't ever really listen to people when they say, oh, I do this for the people and I do this for so and so. You know, you shouldn't really have to say that, because it should come across in your actions and what you do. But the truth is, they know a lot of Black folk are looking for something, searching for something. A lot of Black people want a way out, so to speak. And one of the sad parts about it is a lot of Black people want to be anything other than Black, anything other than African. So if you can sell them that, hey, you're really, you know, when your grandma would say, you know, we had Indian in our family, you know, you're Indian, right? It's like, no, you're not. You may have had that in your bloodline, perhaps, but we are people of African descent. And so, yeah, I just want to throw that in there. It is a lot of these people just doing this for money. That's the motivation. And let me just say this real quick. People always think, like, when people talk about the pro-Black folks or what have you, oh, y'all just trying to get money and this and that. No, the money, there's no money. Let me say this again. There's no money in pro-Blackness. Let me say that again. There is no money in being pro-Black.
That's facts.
There is none. It's zero. You're going to spend money. You're going to put in time, money, energy, resources. Okay?
Yeah.
Everything. Blood, sweat, and tears. You're not going to get not a penny. Because at the end of the day, whenever you can tell Black people something that's not about Blackness, they will pay you for it. Oh, I'm an Indian. Here's some money. Tell me some more how I'm an Indian. Oh, I'm Indigenous. That's right. We're not from Africa. Tell me some more about how I'm not from Africa. They pay these people. That's why. So don't come to, I don't want to hear no people constantly talking about, oh, y'all just doing it for money. Honey, ain't nobody getting no money. The money is in selling anti-Blackness. The money is selling anti-Africanness. That's the
While
money.
dressing it up, excuse me, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
No, go ahead, I'm done.
It's about selling anti-Blackness while dressing it up as Blackness.
That's right.
That's where the money is. Because if you actually talking pro-Black and you mean it like you saying it, there ain't no money in it. But if you talk, there is little to no money in it. Some people make money, but it's little to no money in it. But if you actually talking pro-Black, quote unquote pro-Black, but everything you're saying turns out to be anti-Black, there's a lot of money in that. I don't know nobody who does that and can't make no money. Like, because people will pay you to tell them how not Black they are, how much Black power they are, but they not Black. But to address the whole thing about people saying about your grandma saying you had Indian in your blood. First of all, I want to address this. 99% of these indigenous people are lying because they said their grandma told them that they was Native Americans. That's bullshit. I'm Black just like everybody else on this panel is Black. Your grandma said that y'all got some Indian in y'all blood. She never said we was Indians. Second, even if your grandmother did say that, that's your grandma. You that's one grandparent. You got 4 grandparents. That's one of them. It's like if you had one I don't know, anything. Any other type of grandparent, you wouldn't be running around claiming to be that. And the people who are that wouldn't let you run around claiming to be that either. You know better than that. And the reason why so many people, grandparents did say that, but when you take DNA tests, you find no Native American blood is because, again, a lot of Black people were enslaved by Native Americans. And a lot of them grew up with the Native Americans and they taught them their culture. So when slavery ended and Native Americans began to purge Blacks off the reservations, they re-entered Black society as Native Americans because that's all they knew. They was like a lot of them was kids. They grew up And that's all they knew was Cherokee culture and everything. So when they had to go back around black people, they went back around black people as Cherokees. And that's what made black people, that's when the stories get passed down, like, oh, you know, we got Indian in our family. Your great grandfather was Cherokee, or whatever the case may be. When he wasn't actually Cherokee, he was more like a slave of the Cherokee. You do the ancestry, you'll see that you could find you have Indians, your descendants of people who were enslaved by Indians. Like Henry Louis Gates, when he did the documentary, which on balance was a bad documentary because he omitted a lot of stuff, and he was running interference for white people and trying to cover up their history. But when he was just telling people about their history, remember, he showed Don Cheetah that his ancestors was owned by Native Americans. If I'm not mistaken, right? I got that right? Hello?
Yeah, you said his ancestors were owned by Native Americans.
Yeah, I got that right? That's who else saw that documentary with Henry Louis
I didn't.
Gates?
Who you said about? You said with Don Cheadle?
Yeah.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah,
I didn't see that one.
But I think that is what he told him, because I think Don Cheetah was asking Don Cheetah questions, and John Cheetah was like, I heard we got Indian in our family. And then that's when he revealed to him the ancestry, that the Indian in your family was a dude who was enslaved by the Indians. He wasn't an Indian. He just left the Indian plantation as an Indian, because you know Indians, unlike the white folks, they kind of made you adopt their culture, and all the kids had to adopt their culture. So that was all they had. So that's why they was walking around like as Indians. That's why I said before. But yes, this all a scam. It's meant to get money. It's gonna disappear because again, I'm gonna keep the pressure up. I'm gonna release some more information, and nobody's gonna be able to answer it, because that's how you deal with pseudos. You ask real questions. You don't play with them let them want to talk to you about something that happened 1,000 years ago, something that happened 400 years ago. Well, somebody said this one was this color. Well, I got a picture of somebody being drawn this way. No. We're gonna ask real questions that can be answered in reality. If this is true, why are you on YouTube and not going out to get that money? Are you on YouTube raising money so you could? Are you raising money so you could hire a lawyer to get that money? What are you on YouTube for? What are you on YouTube? And where is your definitive proof? Because people will no matter how much proof you show them, they will say it's not proof, while simultaneously not showing you any proof and saying stuff that debunks anything that they said. Like before, I heard every indigenous person say the slave trade did not happen. I even got I got files of it said where people said the slave trade didn't happen, and if it did happen, where are the slave ships? Now they're saying the slave trade did happen, but it happened in reverse. But you can turn around and ask them now. So if the slave trade happened and it happened in reverse, where are the slave ships?
They never answered. Nope, they never answered.
Because it's just fake. It's a lot of it got to do with a lot of people don't want to be affiliated with Africa because of those National Geographic documentaries when they showing Africans looking all savage and all dirty and all that other stuff, and nobody wants to be affiliated with that.
And it's not.
And wait, I'm gonna let you go. Let me just say this.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
People don't even know that was done on purpose to make black people look bad. Like I did the video about how National Geographic apologized for doing those documentaries, because they did it on purpose, like to be racist. Like this was intentional. Like they talked about how they would go places in Africa and make the people line up and do certain things like they was shooting a movie. They were pretending like they were shooting a documentary, but it was actually a movie. They would tell people not to talk or to say certain things or do certain actions to make Africans look as savage as humanly possible. They apologize for that.
I know, because when I look at pictures of Africa, I've met people from Africa. I'm pretty sure we all have, and they have houses with quarters in the back, and they have different rules and customs and beautiful cities, very beautiful cities. But we always seen these huts with mud and things like that. But you have mentioned slavery, and that's the only thing that really the scamming gets on my nerves with the different communities that are out there. But it really irritated me when they were saying that our captivity never happened. That's like, White people to this day are ashamed of the fact that they did not naturally gain wealth. All the other nationalities that come over here now, that's the first thing they say: "Oh, we're self-made, we're self-made." But white people can't say they're self-made because they're not. They came up off our back. And then they admit to certain types of captivity, but not the full-blown slavery. They say, "Oh, it did happen with a little bit of people coming over here, but not the amount you say it happened in, not the amount they say it happened in." And I'm like, they can get cargo back and forth back then, abundance of it, sugar cane and all that. Then they got us across too.
And you know, I'm just the type of person, I'm gonna hit you with hella questions. And I'm gonna hit you with questions you really gonna have to answer. Because, like for instance, I wanted to say something about the grandmother thing. They used the whole grandmother thing as a way to like elicit an emotional response to people. So, because most people, of course, love their grandmothers, in our community, if you will, we love our grandmothers and everything like that. Most people, most cultures do. But anyway, and so they try to use that to blind people. So, well, what your grandmother told you, Granny was right and this and that. Here's the thing. Your grandmother could have told you 10 million other things, but you're not going to go by that. But because somebody's grandma said you got Indian in your blood, now you're an Indian. Now you're an Aboriginal. Now you're full blown. The slave trade didn't happen, or it happened in reverse, and we're the true Indian. All this from somebody's grandma said you got Indian in your blood. So they try to throw that out there, and they've like said to me before, "Oh, you trying to diss our grandmothers? You trying to, huh? How am I trying to diss your grandmother?" Because I'm saying, where's the proof? Where's the facts? Where's the evidence of this? Beyond you saying your grandmother said that. A lot of people's grandmothers could say a lot of things. And in fact, and I'm not saying, I know people tell, family stories and history and things of that nature, and that's very common. However, it is also common that when people, like if a crime is committed, one of the most unreliable things is a eyewitness testimony. Because what happens is people's stories change. People forget a part, they leave out a part, they add in a part. This affects that, that affects this. So you're basing this off of your grandmother saying you had Indian in your blood. That's all you're going off of, because you're going to say the DNA tests are fake. You're going to say all of the history and things that we've been taught are fake. You're going to say, where are the slave ships? Well, like you said, where are the slave ships in reverse? So if y'all can believe that they took people from here to there, then why can't you believe that we were taken from there to here? Especially when there is a roster of slave ships, there is proof and evidence of those things. So a lot of this, it just feeds into people who don't want to be Black anyway. They want to look for a way to get away from Blackness. So I'll claim whatever else I can claim. And I'm going to put this link in the chat room, but it's something I've been wanting a lot of these Aboriginal people, whatever, to see and comment on, because they consistently say that DNA is fake, that it's fake, it's not true, and this, that, and the other. Now, there's a channel, I think it's part of that BuzzFeed. It may or may not be, but it's a channel, it's like a Latino whatever channel. And like a couple weeks ago, they had a video where they had Afro Latinos got DNA tested. Okay, so they had these a lot of different peoples from a lot of different countries in the Caribbean and South America, what have you. And like a lot of the ones who were fair, much more fair, a lot of the ones who look more what people would consider Puerto Rican or what have you, or Spanish looking, almost all of them, well, really almost all of them, but almost all of them had Indian blood. They had, substantial amounts of Indian DNA. So my question would be, for those people, was their DNA test wrong too? Because see, they would try to say that those people, we're the same as those people, and we're not. If I'm gonna put the link in the chat, y'all will see for yourself. So those people's DNA showed up as having Indian in it, but most Black people, most so-called African Americans' blood does not show that. And in fact, the girls, the ones who were the most Black, if you will, they had like a tiny droplet of this Indian blood in them. So how does that work? And I would love for them to break that down, because you can't say DNA is right over here, but it's wrong over there. Well, which one is it? Because I asked some of them before about Snoop Dogg's DNA. And Snoop Dogg's DNA came back that he had, was it over 10%? It may have been like 12%. It's been a while since I seen the clip. It's on YouTube. But he had like maybe 12% or something like that Native American DNA. So they would say, oh, well, yeah, he got DNA. I mean, he got a Native American. But then all the other Black people who get the same DNA test and they don't have any, oh, their tests are fake. So they like to pick and choose what they want to use and what they won't use.
And to follow up on the DNA point about the DNA, because I remember I'm seeing this show going around about the DNA. Oh, excuse me, about the DNA. I seen that clip of 60 Minutes when they first aired when I was a little kid. The dude never said DNA is fake. They was challenging the Black guy's DNA company because they said that he was doing things that were underhanded and shady. And I remember that clearly. And the stuff that they were saying made 100% sense about the Black guy's company being unreliable and being shady. Because the Black guy was claiming that he could tell people what tribe they was from. I remember Don Cheetah, because Don Cheetah, he got his DNA tested from that guy, and that guy told Don Cheetah he was a part of some tribe in Africa, and Don Cheetah was back there. They went back to Africa. They had a big celebration and everything, and they was coming at him saying that your stuff is not legit. And in a way, it wasn't, because by definition, how could you tell Black people which tribe they was from when everybody knows Black people as African Americans, we came from every part of Africa. Most of us, if you get a DNA test, you're going to see DNA grouping coming up from multiple different regions in Africa. There's no way you can pinpoint a Pacific tribe. There's no way. You can't, because I never took a DNA test, but I'm pretty sure if I took one, I'm going to have Central African DNA, West African DNA, and maybe have some Southeast African DNA. There's no way. I got so many different regions. How could you tell me what tribe? And a tribe is just that, a tribe. Two people we could have two different tribes that got the same blood, same DNA. So that's what they was getting at about the Black dude. They never once said DNA is fake.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for saying that too. That's a big lie that was told. And in fact, they did a live stream where they were playing that clip from 60 Minutes over and over, and they continue putting me in timeout. I think somebody blocked me at some point, but then I was unblocked. But they blocked me simply because I spelled it out, basically what you were saying, which is that the clip doesn't say DNA is fake. It doesn't say that's false. The clip says the dispute was, it wasn't that the person didn't have that DNA. It was how much of the DNA was used to gather the results. Or for instance, it was basically saying like, you could have millions of ancestors or whatever the case may be, and that this is just giving you a small piece of that or a small part of that, basically was what it was. It didn't say anything about this is fake, this is not real, the test results were inconclusive, none of that. The test is real. The DNA is real. Okay, that was never denied. It just simply said this only is for a small portion of your total DNA. But like I brought up to them, how come in none of that DNA, why was there still no Native Americans for none of these Black people? Why was there no Native American blood in it? Even if this is just testing a small amount, whatever, guess what? It still came back as African. For the lady that had the test from the different companies, guess what? She still came back as African. So yeah, where is any Native American figuring in? But see, they talk over some people's heads, or not even that, but they say things, and a lot of those people are not gonna think for themselves. They're not gonna look into it. They're not gonna research. They're not gonna listen for themselves. Confirmation bias, basically. And so this is what they operate on. And so yeah, they tried to ban me for that. And I'm like, y'all lying. Y'all sitting here lying to these people. There's nothing in that clip. Go play the clip for yourself. I'll try to put it in the chat too. There's nothing in that clip that says DNA is false or a hoax. That's a lie.
I definitely know that. Like I said, like when I said that he was telling people their tribe. The only reason he could tell people, quote unquote, what tribe they was from, because he was testing so little of your DNA. So it was like if he tests this tiny bit, of course it's gonna lead you back to one area. And even if it does lead you back to one area, again, there's multiple tribes in that area who all got the same DNA in their body. So how do you know which one did the ancestor come from? That was the issue with him. It wasn't DNA was fake. It was because he was playing a game on people. He was running. I could say he was running a hustle. Because once you're not giving people back their full DNA test and you're telling them that they belong to this tribe and that tribe, when there's no way a DNA test could even tell you what tribe you come from.
Right.
It's like you running a hustle. But that doesn't mean DNA was fake.
Right.
It does not mean that. And another thing that they try to that you brought up that they try to get around is like, again, it's like you said, it's confirmation bias. People don't want to be Black. That's just what it all comes down to. All these dysfunctional pseudo ideologies are rooted in one thing, like you said, anti-Blackness. Point blank, period. Even the flat Earth pro-Black stuff, that's it. It's rooted in anti-Blackness. The flat Earth stuff, the Indigenous stuff, the Moorish stuff. Every time you hear these dudes, it's always some we ain't Black. But everything else in the book, people will tell you about India. They'll tell you about China. They'll tell you about how the samurai was Black and all this other craziness to try to get you everywhere. Looking everywhere, the Vikings, the English, everybody was Black except like that. Matter of fact, we all that Black stuff, but we except African. We the Black Arabs. We the Black Chinese. We the Black Japanese. We the Black English. We the Black Vikings. We the Black Native Americans. We the Black everything except Black Africans.
Yep.
They were saying in the chat room that it was big business to be anti-Black, and it is big business to be anti-Black.
When haven't it not been big business to be anti-Black? It's always been big business. Originally, a lot of stuff that people did in the past that we might call anti-Blackness, they did it for survival purposes. They didn't do it because they hated being Black. They just did it because it was just the hardest thing to be, but you had a better time. So you did actually have Black people walking around saying that it was Native Americans trying to get treated better. You did have Black people walking around claiming to be Indians, like from India, wearing turbans and stuff because they was trying to hide their hair, so and make it seem, or they would shave their head bald and put on a turban and be like, "I'm from India," so they could be treated better. So you did have people doing it only for survival purposes. If you
look in the jazz era, you had a lot of Black musicians who were quote unquote Negro musicians. When they would travel to other places, they would pretend to be Muslim or from, some of these other places because they were treated better than if saying that they were a Negro from America. They were treated better if they pretended or tried to pretend like wrap their heads up and do different things to look like they were try to look like they were something else. So like you're right. A lot of these people did things like that, for survival, or what have you. And yeah, and then you have a lot of people today who they just don't want to be Black. They just don't want to be anything African. And I think that now this Haven and everybody, but if you notice, I feel like this, and me and Psycho talked about this plenty of times. Like last year, it was more so the whole flat Earth thing. Like that was the thing that was popping, and they were trying to really push that to Black people and market that to us, and basically to say, hey, we're all in the same fight. We've all been lied to, and all this old kind of mess. But if you notice something, this year, after the whole thing with Black Panther and all of that, right? And how big that was and just everything. Notice how, the Africanness was being pushed and people were more like, open to that. People were kind of repping that more, Wakanda forever and this, that, and the other. And yeah, that's a movie, that's a fictional, movie, whatever. But do you all think, or does it seem odd to you that after that whole big push of Africanness with Black Panther, now you have this big push? Well, hey, you guys aren't from Africa. You're Aboriginals.
I think I don't necessarily think it was necessarily a coincidence. I think the coincidence with that is more of an anti-African bias. Like you have people like Yvette Carnell trying to use the movie as an allegory that is Black Americans versus Africans.
Yeah.
But people been pushing the indigenous thing really, really hard even before the movie came out. But I want to speak on something about the movie. You see how when the movie came out and it showed, even again, like you said, Wakanda is fake, but it showed Africa in such a positive light. Now everybody walking around with dashikis and they Wakanda forever and they drum beating and all that other stuff. People you would have never seen doing it, they doing it because they seeing Africa in a positive light. And that again goes back to what I said about National Geographic when they were purposely showing Africa in a negative light. That made nobody want to be affiliated with Africa because a lot of these anti-African ideologies started really in the 70s when those documentaries started. And as they became more and more common, it picked up more and more and more steam. To now when you got everybody making documentaries like that. That's why I said another thing about National Geographic, that apology don't mean nothing because now you apologize for it, but now everybody's doing it. Anytime you look at a documentary about Africa, no matter what place it is, it looks like a new version of an old National Geographic documentary. Everybody's poor, everybody's a savage, everybody just fucked up. And it's like you don't already let that genie out the bottle. It's too late. You can't put it back in or whatever. But yeah, I don't necessarily think it's like a correlation between that because the indigenous stuff was already pumping before that. It's just that now it's just gotten even bigger.
And they absolutely tell on themselves because you're right, Nikki. I was just gonna say what she said in the chat. It can be easily witnessed how anti-African these people are because they will use insults against us like white people use against Africans, or like a lot of us foolishly maybe back in the day used to use about Africans. So they'll say things like African booty scratchers, you guys eat monkeys, you guys, you come from the wilderness. I mean, they'll come up with all kind of crazy things, but the same kind of like little insults and things that white people use against African people or black people, they use against us. And I'm like, y'all black though, y'all African though. Like, what are you talking about?
Yes, and you're right. I forgot to bring that up. I don't think Truthfully Honest saw that video because she didn't bring it up. That's why it slipped my mind. I made a video about that, about how people say the stuff about mud huts and that got
Mm-hmm.
plate lips. These are all again racist white things that were promoted by National Geographic. That's why everybody
Mm-hmm.
keeps saying the same thing, and it's like this is stuff that white people used to say back then. Like, oh, I know how y'all was savages. Y'all better be happy we got brought here as a slave. Y'all would have had a plate lip and living
Right.
in a mud hut. This is stuff that, like, you see National Geographic, you know how y'all live, how they living over there. Y'all still be living like that. And you have the same black people who watch those same documentaries and heard white people say that, and now they taking those same insults and projecting it on other people. And I also did the video exposing all that bullshit. Not only exposing it, but showing that how that quote unquote indigenous people that they claiming to be was doing the same thing, because you got Native American tribes who had plate lips.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know that. See,
Mm-hmm.
that's another video I made that hurt a lot of people. That hurt a lot of indigenous people feelings. Like, I think I also brought up about
Yeah,
how I
what was so
forgot.
technological about them?
Yeah, what's so
What
great
was so
about,
advanced about the Native Americans?
and they don't like that because they'll pretend like the Native Americans had this high civilization that they didn't have. Not disrespecting them, but they just they was just regular people living
Right.
in a village. There ain't no disrespect, ain't no harm with that. But it's like
Right.
you making it seem like they was flying around in spaceships. And when you put that out there to them, they get hurt. That's another thing that make them silent. Tell me what's so special about the Native Americans. And oh yeah, you said plate lips is a problem. Well, Native Americans have. Some Native American tribes have plate lips, just like some tribes in Africa. Very few. It was only like one tribe that did the plate lips. Again, that's another part of racist white propaganda to make it seem like
Mm-hmm.
everybody had plate lips. And that
That's
was
right.
one small ass tribe. But again, the Native American tribes who have plate lips, they still around to this day putting plate.
And I like how. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I was gonna say, like, that's your culture, right? Why aren't you claiming it? You try to use that as an insult, but now you're insulting your own culture. How you feel about that? And some other things I said, I forgot. But
and one of the things they try to use, I don't know if you mentioned this before I came on, but you kind of said a little something, but one of the things they do is they use these images from these advertisements for different products, things, or whatever back in the day. And they use these drawings and say, oh, see how dark these people were? See, they were drawn as black people. Listen, stop that. Stop that nonsense. Okay? Everybody who has dark skin is not black. We know this. Everybody with dark skin is not black. You can find East Indians who are darker than a lot of black folk. A lot of black folk, but they're not black. They're not African, and they will tell you that. You look at Eskimos, a lot of them are very dark complexion. That doesn't mean we're the same people as Eskimos because they have dark skin. So this idea that if they have dark skin, oh, that means they're black. That's not true. That's just not true. So they try to use that as some talking point, and that's just supposed to justify everything else that they say. Because in these little drawings, these little advertisements, the so-called Indian person or whatever, or the true American was drawn with dark skin. Like, okay, that don't make them black though. And so when you challenge them on that, they don't really have anything for that either. Because there would be no way you would take a East Indian who's very dark and they're of their culture, all of that. Now, I mean, some of them do have African descent or of African descent or what have you, but most of them There's many of them that are very dark skinned and they are not African. We're not the same people. We don't have the same phenotype. Otherwise, their hair texture is completely different. Many of their features and other things are completely different. It's not the same. So the dark skin does not give you a home run.
Oh, yes, I did touch on that. And if you look at the quote unquote phenotype of those pictures or those drawings, they like just content. And the funny part is that in the video I made with the plate lips, I showed an actual Native American, or that's what they call them, American Indians in South America, with dark skin. Like he was like black. He was damn near black. And he was in the village, living there. He was surrounded by a bunch of red people, but he was black. Because some of them got really came out really dark.
Right.
Like not all of them have red skin. Some of them came out really dark. So that's when they try to say, oh, look, they got some Mayan pictures with some quote unquote black people. They got red ones and they got black ones. I'm like, because some of the indigenous ones sometimes came out black. And not necessarily black, but really dark. Really they heavily melanated. And another thing, I explained to people about how those pictures they were using of people on the reservations with the feathers. You might have missed that. I explained that those are slaves. Those are people who were slaves or the descendants of slaves who had embraced the Native American culture. Those were not quote unquote pictures of some indigenous people that was proved. Those people were slaves or the descendants of slaves. And another thing that people don't seem to understand is that I heard before, and this is when I had the dagger somebody when I first started talking about that, the indigenous stuff, when they try to bring up the Seminoles. And it's like, look at all these pictures of the Seminoles. They black, and they got black pictures, and they showing Seminoles, and I had to explain to them that Seminole means runaway. And the original Seminoles were black. And then people started calling the Native Americans down there Seminoles as well, because they was all living together. The runaway slaves was living with the Native Americans, and that's how they all got the name Seminole. And some of the tribes got called Seminole. Those Seminoles people were not indigenous. They were runaway slaves. Seminole literally means runaway.
I mean, I have you come across anything with them trying to show you or tell you their end game? What do you know their end game to be?
There is no end game. That's why I said, like, it's a scam. That's why I made the video. Like, it's time to show and prove. The average person who does have a quote unquote end game is a scammer, because they're trying to get people to say, give me money. We gonna give me money. We gonna get some land together, and we gonna go live there. We're gonna be back we're gonna embrace our original culture and our original ways. It's all a scam. That's the quote unquote end game. The end game is a scam. Or it's something, it's a scam. It's either a scam like that, or it's something like, listen, family, we got to wake up everybody black in America to the fact that they're indigenous. And then once we do that, then we can go to the UN, and the UN is going to give us back our land. Some foolishness like that. One, we already know any plan that relies on getting everybody, we're talking about tens of millions of people, because there's tens of millions of black people. That plan failed out the gate. Second, even if you did get everybody, you're not going to the U. First of all, you're not indigenous. The UN is not going to acknowledge you as indigenous. Second, even if they did, they can't do anything to the United States government, because I had to shut down this whole UN business. This had to do with something else. The UN cannot help you. The UN has no jurisdiction over the United States of America. The United States of America set the UN up to basically do what they want to do. So when they got mad at a country, they could sick the UN on them and make it seem like, look, we getting them, they breaking the law and all that. While America breaks the law all the time that they make, and nobody ever goes to jail. The Iraq war was illegal, was an illegal war. Who went to jail for that? Nobody.
Exactly.
It's according to the quote unquote indigenous people treaty that the UN made up. You can't treat indigenous quote unquote native people a certain way. Talking about the Native Americans, we do it anyway in America, building a pipeline through their land, taking it, fucking up their water. Is anybody doing anything? No.
Nope.
You, again, when the UN wanted to come see the jails and talk about how solitary confinement is cruel and unusual punishment, they talked about how black people are being unfairly targeted in America and how racist the American justice system is. Did anything change?
Nope.
Obama told them no. They wanted to see the jails.
That's right.
They said no, and that was the end of it.
That's
No, but
right.
the UN has no jurisdiction over the United States of America. The only time the UN actually gets to do something, and if it's when they doing America's bidding.
Fact.
Remember, America funds the UN. America puts more money into the UN than every other country combined. America sends the UN to do their dirty work. Like if they want to take over an area in Africa, but they don't want to actually send American troops to do it, they'll fund the UN to put together a quote unquote army and then make them do it. Like they did in Somalia. Like when America pulled out from the when we pulled out because of the Black Hawk Down situation, they put together the UN put together the AU, the African Union, UN army of a bunch of black countries and sent them in to fight the Somalis. While we sit back and we occasionally drop bombs on them or send special forces in, but they're doing the fighting.
That's right.
They're doing the fighting. That's the only reason the UN exists, for them to do the fighting for us, or to make America look great and make it seem like we got some high moral people. All these organizations, so I keep telling people, all these organizations you hear with the word world in it and all that, they were created by America, and they do America's bidding. The World Bank, the World Health Organization, the IMF, all these things. When you hear international, world, united, and they supposed to be helping everybody across the world, they only do what America tells them to do. All the people who run them are white or born in America. That's it. You cannot run to none of those organizations to save you. They're never gonna save you. They have no jurisdiction, and even if they did, they wouldn't use it to help you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for saying a bit. I've been talking about this for a very long time, for a while now, and trying to get people to understand this because that's what I originally heard their end game was supposed to be. What you said, we need everybody to get on one accord, and then the UDRIP and the UNDRIP and all this from the United Nations, and blah blah blah. Listen, like you said, all of that stuff is already set up a certain way. You're not going to get indigenous status. On top of that, and I did a show on it. I know I addressed it, at least if I didn't do a show on it, I addressed it on a couple of shows. But in June of this year, the U.S. pulled out of the United Nations Human Rights Council. They pulled out of that. They don't have to, and like you said, they don't have to abide by anything the United Nations says. They haven't during all of this time. Like you said, they wanted to investigate the prisons, and they talked about the solitary confinement, how that's torture. And it's supposed to be rules and regulations against torture. But they still do it to this day. That changed nothing. The United Nations came in and did a report on the water in Alabama, the Black people's water in Alabama, that it had feces in it. And these people were getting hookworm you only see in third world countries, in the poorest of third world countries. That's not even heard of, even happening in a Western society. What happened with that? Nothing. So this idea that you're just going to claim this Aboriginal status, you're the true Americans, and then the UN is going to say, hey, white people, white supremacist government that we're a part of, we're going to shut y'all down, and you got to give these people all their land, money, and everything. Get the hell out of here. You know it ain't happening. And anytime you want to sit up here and assume the identity of another people who already have had their culture taken from them, who done already been killed, who done already been raped, robbed, and pillaged. Like you said, they set up and ran the damn pipeline through the ancient ancestral burial ground. This is supposed to be sacred to these people. And what they do? Oh, well, we're going to put our pipeline there. Yeah, you know what? This is your land. Yeah, this is your country. Okay, yeah. We acknowledge that. But guess what? We're going to run our pipeline any damn way. So how do you think your black behind, your African behind, is going to get some respect from the same people who do that? They going to give you a status? They gonna give you indigenous status in their system and you filling up their prison? Stop it. So that's a whole scam. Like you said, that's a scam on people to feed into something to think that's gonna get them away from being black, thus get them away from being treated black. And that's not gonna happen.
That's right, because you're not going to trick those people out their spot. They made these rules up. You're not going to find a way to try to trick them out of their spot where you get to free yourself by using their rules against them. Because then they'll just change the rules on you.
Right, exactly.
It's only but like when they try to say, oh, these treaties and stuff like that. That's what I mean by when I say they change the rules on you with these treaties.
Mm-hmm.
Those quote unquote treaties, first of all, they don't mean nothing that those people was claiming. I'm talking about the Moors right now, and even in the indigenous people, because the indigenous people got their stuff from the Moors. First of all, none of those treaties mean anything that they said that people are claiming that they mean. Second, we know America to never abide by any treaty unless it benefits them. The day a treaty doesn't benefit them, they break it. Point blank, period. Name me one time America didn't break a treaty when it didn't benefit them. It's just like when the Cherokee the Trail of Tears. The Cherokee sued because Andrew Jackson wanted to move them to take their land. They sued in court and they won. And guess what? He still moved them and took their land. Because they said they brought their treaty and said, listen, we got a treaty with the U.S. government. You can't do this. And the court said, you're right. Y'all can't do this. And Andrew Jackson just went like, oh well, we doing this anyway. And the Trail of Tears happened. And they took that land. Ain't no piece of paper gonna save you.
Eminent domain. Eminent domain.
What happened? What you mean by eminent domain?
I'm saying, can't they come in where the government can come in and take your land?
Yeah. Eminent domain is a part of the law too. Like where the government can say we need this land for some government purpose, and they could just take it, just like with the Native Americans with the pipeline. That's supposed to be their sacred land. That's supposed to be on their tribal land, and the federal government not supposed to have no say so. But they said, "Oh, eminent domain, we need this land. Pipeline is gone."
Exactly. Exactly. So you can't think you can boss up over them. They done already established all of these things, and like I said before, like you said, they'll just change the rules on you. These people will go and literally have a midnight session in Congress and change something like that. And change it like that. That doesn't mean a thing. And let me say this to people who, especially people who may be like Moors or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that you shouldn't learn the law, that you shouldn't know the law, that's not, helpful or beneficial or productive or whatever. Like, that's cool. That's cool. I'm down with it. That's what's up. However, if you think that you knowing the law will somehow help you to transcend the law, then that's where you have a problem. You can know their laws all day. Just don't get confused that you can present them their own laws and that they will accept it and then grant you whatever it is you're trying to get. And like I always ask, I always ask these people this one question, and nobody yet has ever really answered this. And I have asked Moors this, I've asked these Aboriginal people this. What ability do you have to impose consequences on the United States government if they say no? If they say no, you come in there, I got all this paperwork, these Moors and all this. Oh, here's this file folder and this file folder and that file folder, and here's this. I got this paperwork in section such of code such and such and such. And then what? And they say, get the hell out of this courtroom. You sentenced to blah, 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 blah. Be gone. What are you going to do about it? If you go, I'm getting this Aboriginal status. See, we Indigenous, and they say, you're still going to be classified as Black or African American or whatever. Get the hell out of here. Have a good day. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, and that's the other question I always pose to people. But first of all, I want to say this: the Moors do not know the law, because if you knew the law, you wouldn't even be wasting your time trying to present paperwork claiming that you're above the law, and somehow you can just take property that's not yours. If you actually knew the law, they say they know the law, they don't know anything about the law. That's first thing. Second thing, you're absolutely right about the consequences, and if they do say no, you can't do anything about it. There's been plenty of people, like I even just said with the Native Americans, there have been plenty of people throughout human history who tried to hide behind a piece of paper, and when the people said we're not abiding by this paper, they couldn't do anything about it because the paper was all they had. And then once the people said they wasn't abiding by the paper, it was over, because they couldn't resist them. Many people have suffered that fate throughout human history. So even if we did have, quote unquote, this paper was real, I still wouldn't rely on it, because at the end of the day, somebody could come and just say, I don't respect this paper anymore. And what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And another thing that's so important is that paperwork was never going to free you, especially if it was real. I'm somebody who promotes politics all day, every day. But if somebody asks me, is politics going to set Black people free, or we magically going to be able to vote ourselves to freedom? I would tell you no. You don't vote yourself to freedom. You don't buy paperwork to freedom. That don't work like that. It don't vote like it don't work like that. Not at all. When I be promoting politics, it's about putting us in a better space. It's not about freeing us where we got our own nation now, and we free, and we can make our own rules, and we don't gotta worry about the racism in America. None of that. You don't vote your way to freedom. I don't know nobody who ever voted their way to freedom.
That's facts.
Who just decided one day we're gonna hold the election, we're gonna vote, and we vote ourselves free, and everybody gotta respect it. That never happened.
And a lot of people, I'm sure, will hear this and be upset at what you're saying and what I'm saying. Because one thing that, and I'm not necessarily even trying to say it in a bad way to like put anybody down or anything, but just in a realistic way. One of the easiest things to sell Black people is hope, because that's all we've really had at a lot of times. Under this system and a lot of our circumstances, all we ever really had was hope. That's why we make excellent targets for religion and things of that nature. And like the whole Indigenous thing and all of that is like still some semblance of hope for people. Like they see that as, oh, well, maybe, it's like they're more willing to go with a maybe, which is a no. It's a no. But they would be more willing to put stock in that than just to straight up be like, you know what? We are Black. We are people of African descent. We are still enslaved over here. This is what it is. Now, for real, what we gonna do? They don't want to do that, because a lot of people just want to stay in some type of level of comfort, if you will, in white supremacy. And even if they can just fool themselves by saying they're not Black, they're Aboriginal, that makes some of them feel better. That makes some of them have a little more hope. And I feel like that's really sad when we get to that, when we're to that stage as a people. And I tell people that's why, and I fell for the debate too, like as far as Obama with his first term, but that's why he sold hope. That's why his slogan was hope and change. You hope things gonna change, but the hell they not. And that's exactly what happened. And so Black people went with that whole hope thing, because that's what we have for everything is hope. I hope things get better. I hope they start treating us better. I hope they stop killing us. I hope, 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 hope. And so that Indigenous Aboriginal thing plays into the hope. The Moorish thing, the paperwork, and all this plays into the hope. And that's just the sad part about it.
Yeah, you're right. It is hope, and that's why I attack people who scam the most, because like you're playing on the legitimate aspirations of Black people to be free. We all know something ain't right, and people want to do better. They want to attack this problem, and you're playing on their legitimate aspirations to be free. People
Yep.
will, and I said that before. The reason why people keep falling for the pseudoism is because it sells them some type of hope, and it's like they ready to be anything. I told you, I said people ready to be from
Mm-hmm.
Planet Park Tart. If you tell them that being from Planet Park Tart is gonna see you get freedom, people ready to be anything. If you telling them being this is gonna help them get free, they gonna roll with it. Point blank, period. No matter what it is, because people just in that type of desperate situation. They in that desperate of a situation that if you tell
Yep.
them that this is gonna get you free, that's why all this pseudoism is start with. If you just do this, you'll be free. It start with you've been lied to, and if you just claim this, you'll be free. Every
Mm-hmm.
pseudo ideology start out the same way. You've been lied to. This is the truth. You need to claim this, and if you do, you'll be free.
Now, so hey, even because I've seen you do videos on this that I mean, just they're hilarious and sad at the same time with the different mores or what have you. But what is this idea that thinking because you have a fez on your head? Now, mind you, you a Black man, all right, you a Black man in America. You already a threat. But you think because you go put a fez on, that then is supposed to symbolize to police and uh, 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 people in the government or whatever, oh, you're a higher status. You're not a Negro. Oh, you got a fez on. We can't treat you like a Negro. And then these people get their bubbles burst every time. You think it's sad when you think a fez will save you. I've literally heard more say, well, you know, we have our fez on and we this and that. They know. They know what? What do they know?
And it is sad because it's true. And they constantly try to. That's why I tell people the truth. I always tell people the truth because I tell them the truth only hurts once. When you keep living a lie, that's what keep hurting you. Because when you keep, because I show people who have continuously keep getting hurt and hurt and hurt by this because they keep believing it. Like you go out there, you try to ride around with no license, you get locked up. Then you try to do it again, and then you try to keep doing it now. And then now, one time you get into an argument with the police, they beating you up,
Mm-hmm.
or they shooting you, they tasing you, they taking your kids away. They like a little thing turned into like a little issue that you might have had to pay a big fine for. Now turns into 30 years in jail.
Yep.
Turns to 10 years in jail.
Yep.
And this is because people just they won't let it go. Because a lot of times with that, people manipulators notice, like people who sell pseudo ideologies, they notice that if you get people to believe something and they promote it, they have a hard time coming to the point when they acknowledging that it's fake because they just too embarrassed to do it. Because it's like you
Mm-hmm.
believe this, you promoted this, and they just too embarrassed to come out and just say, listen, my whole identity that I was promoting to people for years has been a lie. But it is sad that people believe that a piece of paper or a fez on your head, chicken bucket hat, is going to magically protect you from police brutality. It's going to protect you from all the stuff that you see happening to everybody else. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was finally adjudicated that the chicken bucket hat is not going to protect you when the brother Ball Bay died. He was a card carrying member of the Moral Science Temple of America. So nobody, because sometimes they be like, oh, that person ain't a real Moor, or they didn't have
Right.
real paperwork. This was a card carrying member of the real Moral Science Temple of America, the organization that Noble Drew Ali himself established. And the police shot him in the back and stood over his body and said anybody else could be
Wait
next.
a minute. The man who used to be on Sinatus?
No, you not him. I'm talking about
Oh.
Ball Bay.
Okay.
I mean not Roy Bay, Ball Bay, ball like a
Oh,
basketball.
okay. I was like, what? Okay.
No, he got shot in the back. Police shot him in the back a bunch of times. Coming home from work, police shot him in the back. Stood over his body and said anybody could be next. Like talking to a bunch of black people who saw the police do it. And he's a Moor, and that didn't stop him. That cop didn't go to jail who shot him. Nothing changed. And even Roy Bay, the one you was talking about from Sinetta, he was starting to wake up to see that this Moorish shit ain't what people be telling you. Because he's seen what happened to the brother, and he asks Moors, what are we gonna do about this? Or what the Grand Sheik and all this other stuff is gonna do about it. And they asked him how many letters in the word nothing. And he said 7.
Wow.
And they said, exactly. We're not going to do nothing. And he started waking up. And that's when he started getting in trouble with his temple. And they told him he can't be on Sinetta. And he fell back from Sinetta. And then now he came back a good little brainwash more. Because he was starting to wake up. Because that death started waking him. That death of that brother kind of woke him up. And his stupid letting them be known that, listen, no paperwork ain't gonna protect you. Ain't no fez on your hat. Ain't no being a good little Negro going to work and keeping your nose clean. None of that gonna protect you. If these people gonna smoke you, they're gonna smoke you. And that's just gonna be it. They're gonna shoot you in the back. They're gonna do whatever they're gonna do, and ain't nothing gonna happen. And he was starting to wake up, but his people pulled him back in because he was starting to talk a little too much about how Moors talk about you're not supposed to be black and all this, but he knows for a fact Moors, when they got to go to work, they check that black box.
That's right.
When they got to deal with the government, they check that black box. They talk all that anti-blackness and tell people they need to stop calling themselves black and all this other we Moorish Americans. But when it's time to deal with those white folks or deal with that government, they black. Because they know they can't run that Moorish garbage around. No government official trying to hear that. No employer is trying to hear that. Try to go get a job at anywhere and be like, listen, sir, I'm checking the white box because I have a white status and I'm a Moorish American and I have my paperwork right. You're not going for that. And they know better than to talk to them with it. That's why I attack Moors the most, no matter if they a temple Moor or any of these other Moors, because you know better. You running games on the people. You know when you got to deal with that actual authority. You know, especially the ones who teach this stuff. They know that they gotta black. They know that they gotta check that black box. They know that they're not talking none of that Moorish American bullshit. And the ones who don't know better be the ones who be getting beat up, and those be the students.
That's right.
Like you never see the master teacher, none of them ever confronting police and nothing like that. Matter of fact, I got videos of 2 masters confronting the police. One had a driver's license showing that he wasn't really about that. And I got one with Tariq Bey when he had a Moor with him, one of his Moor students was trying to do what he told him to do. Taj shut him down like, no, just do what the police say.
Do what the white man said, huh?
Yeah.
You ain't no more. Oh, okay. But let's also be clear. Let's be real. That's what matters. Let's just be real. What matters is what the white man has you documented as being and what he counts you as. And the reason it matters is because we are in a system of white domination. So ultimately, in terms of trying to gain resources and certain things, you're going to go through this white system in some capacity or the other. And whatever capacity you go through, you will be classified as black. That's just it. So wear your fez, wear your feathers, say you this or say you that. But at the end of the day, that's not what's really on the paper. If they want to talk about paperwork so much, that's not what's going to be on the paper. You're going to be listed as black, as Negro, as African American, whatever term. That's what you're going to be listed as. And let's stop pretending like that doesn't matter. It does matter. Because ultimately, you're trying to seek white people's acceptance and approval of you. Because you think that if they see you as a Moor, if they see you as Indigenous or the real Native American, that some type of respect will come with that. some type of higher value of respect will come with that than comes with being Black. So stop pretending like that stuff doesn't matter. It does matter to them. That's what they want, is white acceptance, white inclusion, and white acknowledgement as being something other than Black.
Yep, that's what it all comes down to. And it's not just them, it's Africans who do it, like foreign Blacks who do it. Everybody trying to run away from Blackness, no matter what they are. Everybody. Some try to find a pseudo route, some try to find like a oh, my parents came from here, or I'm from here route, or I'm mixed with this, or like my great grandmother was Irish, so that means I'm mixed, and you can't call me Black because I'm not Black. I'm mixed. I took a DNA test and seen that I got 2% Irish in me. We know you already know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We know the drill. Everybody trying to run away and find a way to escape Blackness, and it's not just them, but yeah, we talking about them right now anyway. But yeah, it's just terrible. You're not gonna escape anything. You're just gonna make a fool out of yourself and make yourself a bigger target, because they got Homeland Security watching all these Moors. You got most people don't even know that the Black Identity Extremist pamphlet that came out, because most people didn't read it. Most of it was just about the Moors.
Exactly.
It was just about them, and they constantly selling people this paperwork, making people think that they above the law, and they constantly getting into it with the police.
And
because which is so, and which makes you a bigger target, which means you're gonna get more jail time. You're gonna get you running around calling yourself more. You're gonna have more. You're gonna have more problems. You're gonna get more jail time. You're gonna be under more surveillance. You're gonna be under more everything, just because you want to play games instead of just being an adult. Because I say a lot of times this is people just not being able to be an adult. It's like just be an adult and understand that, listen, bad things have happened in the past, bad things are happening now, and bad things going to happen in the future. But that don't mean you got to disavow everything and try to take some fake other identity and you think you're going to escape bad times. That's like how kids think. Like, you're an adult. Like, don't think like that. And second, if we come together, like the way you come together in that pseudo-ness, if you came together with people who understand that they Black and understand that we in a bad situation and we can do some things to improve ourselves, you would be in a better space instead of trying to magically wish yourself in a better place or trying to pay somebody $13.99. I mean, no, not $13.99. $399.98 for some papers to be in a better place. You're not gonna be in a better place buying no papers from nobody.
I want to say this too and get your input on this. I know Truthfully said the people was after she had a situation, so I wasn't sure when she wanted to wrap it up, but I did want to get your insight on this too, because honestly, I think a lot of stuff that we're dealing with now, and I'm not saying this like to, disparage anybody or whatever. Like, I'm not trying to, put anybody down or say this in such a way, but a lot of the stuff that I see we're kind of dealing with is kind of like prison consciousness. And so it's been a lot of, because the truth is this, with us having such a high level of our people, incarcerated, and how they do our people in this system with the high recidivism and all of the things that go on, particularly focused on our people, that it's inevitable that some of the prison politics and prison culture, spills into the community, because you have so many people in the system and back and forth or what have you. And I feel like some of this is that. So like that, going back kind of to that whole thing, that for some brothers who may be locked down, they look, or sisters who may be locked down, and they look into this Moorish thing as like, maybe this is a way out for me, and then this whole status correction thing and all of these other types of things. And it becomes almost like a prison mindset. So then the people are saying this stuff in the community that's supposedly free or whatever, you know what I'm saying, the real world, whatever. People are bringing these messages, and these are really like prison messages. These are really like to give people hope that's locked up, or to disillusion people that's locked up, that I might be able to get out on this status, or if I claim this, man, I might can, switch things up, or I might not be under their jurisdiction, or if I claim this status, it's almost like that kind of thing. And I feel like that's being applied to the community as a whole. And like I said, I feel like it goes back to that hope thing. But I feel like a lot of this is prison consciousness. It's prison talk. It's what people in prison talk about to pass the time, so to speak. And they study in the law books, not saying you shouldn't study the law books, you shouldn't know about your case. I'm not saying any of that. And I'm not trying to put it down. It's not about putting it down. I'm just saying, again, realistically, I feel like this is a lot of what's going on.
It's kind of prison, but it's not, because you remember, this is not prison consciousness. A lot of this stuff came to prison. It didn't come from prison. It came into prison, because basically prison consciousness is like 5% nation stuff, like Nation of Islam or Orthodox Islam. You feel me? That's a lot of what you see in like prison. You don't see a lot of this, that status correction, that indigenous stuff. That stuff is being brought in by people who was like watching this on the street and then coming to prison and promoting that, and then going back home and coming out of jail and then still promoting it. Like a young pharaoh, you wasn't learning about no chakras and none of that astral projection in jail. Nobody ain't talking about none of that astral projection and status correction stuff in jail. That's stuff that people who you was already talking before you came to jail. You went to jail talking it, and then you left jail talking it. That's what that is. Because a lot of the stuff that people bump into, that like prison consciousness, is again like the Nation of Islam stuff, 5% of nation, the Orthodox Islam, like that's stuff that people find in jail and come home talking. That other like status correction stuff, that kind of got to the people, because you had people getting locked up talking that status correction stuff, and then they got in jail, they were still talking it, and then when they came home, they were still talking it.
So what was the status correction supposed to do? What status is it supposed to correct? Ultimately,
it's supposed to correct your black status and have you identify as a free white person. Ridiculous. But you know what's so crazy? Status correction comes from racist white people. That's who created status correction. That's another thing I also realized about the anti-blackness in these ideologies, because if you actually trace where the stuff come from, it always comes from racist white people. Like when people be saying we not citizens of America, and the 14th Amendment and the 13th Amendment and all that wasn't properly ratified, that's racist white Southern arguments trying to argue against the 14th Amendment, 13th Amendment. But you'll have Moors making that same argument, which we know comes from racist white people. The status correction comes from racist white people trying to claim that they outside the law because they can do whatever they want, so laws don't apply to them. And that's how they got the whole status correction thing. That comes from white people. They tried it. They went to court. They lost. Nobody was jacking that. And then you have black people. You have Moors pick it up and just throw some chocolate on it.
Wow.
That's what all this come to. Like a lot of these whole pseudo ideologies, like the flat earth. I don't know no African group that ever thought the world was flat. And that whole pseudo the world is flat and we didn't come from Africa stuff, that comes from white people. Like all these pseudo ideologies, if you just follow them to the end, like where did this information come from, you always it's gonna lead you back to some white person.
That's right.
It's gonna lead you back to some white person, or like some white person who was even promoting the ideology for a racist purpose. It never failed. But all these crazy conspiracy theories that dudes be coming up with, like we know you got that from Alex Jones. Come on, we know you got that from watching David Eichmann. Like, come on, man.
Right.
You just throw chocolate on it.
Yeah.
Even with the chakras, this whole like the chakra and all that other stuff. If I'm not that stuff came from India, from Hinduism. People just threw some chocolate on it and claimed it came from Egypt.
But
A
look
lot of
in
that,
terms of mhm.
a lot of all that ideologies. These be either ideologies that didn't come from black people or specifically are racist ideologies to attack black people. People just be just taking it and just throwing chocolate on it every time.
That's just crazy. Gosh, it was something I was about to say, and I totally left my mind. I was about to say something.
I have a question. I was gonna ask Haven, excuse me. I was gonna ask Haven, what does he think is going on with this hard push about, we're Aboriginal, but we're not Moors. They almost like, they trying to push the whole indigenous thing without associating themselves with the Moors. It kind of reminds me of the split that happened in the 60s when the 5% nation split off from the Nation of Islam. It's like they wanted to practice the Nation of Islam's teachings without actually being down with the nation. And that's what it seems like is going on with this indigenous movement. You see a parallel there?
There is a parallel, but not directly, because at least the 5% nation knew that their teachings came from the Nation of Islam. Most people who took that indigenous, but we not Moor stuff, they don't know that information came from the Moors. Again, most of them are following behind Dan Calloway, who does not talk about no Moorish stuff. But if you buy the paperwork, it's nothing but Moorish stuff. It even says Moorish Science Temple of America in it. It's like he got that from them. He just dropped the Moorish stuff. That's why people don't know that it's actually Moorish stuff to it. That's why you got that split. But now you're starting to even see them come back together. Because I was watching, like, I think it was Chief Holiday's show when he had like the 500 elite guy. They had the Duke of Tyre explaining it to them how this is Moorish information and about how this all comes from the Moors. And now, if you watch the 500 Elite show, they saying Islam now.
What?
There's like the Aboriginal show, I think it's called 500 Elite or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
They say he says in a greeting as like Islam to like the indigenous. So he even starting to roll with the whole Moorish narrative. So a lot of them are even coming back to the Moorish narrative that they didn't even know existed. So that's why it's kind of like them when they're practicing the Moorish identity and the Moorish ideology without knowing it. Like the 5% nation knew that those teachings came from the Nation of Islam. Nobody could deny that. But you'll have a million Aboriginal people argue you down that their information is not Moorish in any way, shape, or form. And they don't even know that it's all Moorish.
Okay, question. I'm reminded now what my question was going to be. Do you think that Dan Calloway is an agent? Forgive me if you said this earlier and I missed it, but
no, he's not an agent. He's just a scammer. Because remember, Dan Calloway was a rapper / YouTube gamer at one point. That didn't blow up for him, so he switched his hustle because he saw that people was getting money off that Moorish paperwork. So he switched his hustle to take the indigenous information, drop the Moorish stuff, and sell the same paperwork to get money. He's not an agent. He's a scammer. He literally just took the Moorish paperwork word for word, line for line, and took their information word for word, line for line, and just crossed out the word more. That's it.
wow.
That's
And the
why if you
fact that
actually watch his videos, they literally, if you close your eyes and you took out the word indigenous and you just listen to his video without the word indigenous or aboriginal or anything like that, or you just wrote it, say if I wrote down all the words that he said in a video when he's explaining where people come from and all this other stuff, and you cross out the word and I take out the word aboriginal and I put more, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. He's literally taking that information word for word. Most people don't even know this, that the Moors also say that the slave trade never happened.
Okay,
The
I didn't
Moors
know that.
like Tarshary Bey teaches that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach, like, Tarshary Bey teaches that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach, like, Tarshary Bey teaches that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never happened. The Moors teach that the slave trade never hap He also teaches that people that we was already here and that this is Morocco.
Okay.
Talking about Taj Bay right now?
Yeah, I'm talking about him. I'm talking about how Dan Calloway took his information, but just basically took the word more out and just left it with indigenous or aboriginal.
Right.
That's what it is. He's not an agent. He's just a scammer. Point blank. Period. He's just a scammer. He just
And then
he saw that all these people was getting money. He probably was at first even talking to more stuff, but then said that like that's too crowded. Let me just drop the more stuff and let's just run with this straight indigenous stuff. Because I could come at that with the side angle of, remember your everybody, you black, right? You know how your grandmother said we got Indian in our family?
right.
But what she really meant is that we are the Indians. Now let me give you this information. That's what he does. He's a scammer. He's not an agent. He's a certified scammer.
I heard I heard one of his people, whenever I heard them were really trying to find a way to justify or excuse him plagiarizing people, I was like, wow, this is really deep, because his supporters or whatever were sitting there when Ankh and Garfield brought forth all the evidence of him plagiarizing, and they were like, "Oh, we'll see. Well, but we'll see." And I'm like, "Wow! So y'all that invested? You're that invested in what this man has told you, what you wanted to believe, that even in the face of like facts being shown to you, you still are going to try to find some way to skirt the issue because they really want to be something other than black." And the one particular guy I caught up in the lie when he tried to make this claim of being Choctaw and whatever else, and all of these things, and my family is pure blood, or did he say pure? Maybe not, whatever, but it's, my family is Choctaw. We go back and we had this, and that. And so I basically asked, because he was saying, oh, we have our family, because they all they tell people is, like, for new people who come in and listen to a lot of these Aboriginal channels and a lot of these people, what they always say is, you got to go do your own research. You got to go back and trace your family and all this stuff. So the guy was like, well, yeah, we have our family traced back. And he said into the 1700s. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Where's the proof? Show me the proof that you could trace your family back into the 1700s. Because like I said, for my family, for a ton of other people I know, somewhere you're going to get cut off in the 1800s for most things because of how the documentation was, et cetera, et cetera. So show me where you have your family specific documentation showing that you are Choctaw going back into the 1700s. He could never prove it. And Garfield was like, I'm not letting you back on here until you send me the proof, until you show me the proof that you have it. And so instead of him just going ahead and saying, you know what, I lied, I really don't. He was going to stick to his story and tap dance around. So it's just like, it's sad. It just goes to show the lengths and the lies and the deception that these people will go to just try to be something other than black. That's all it is, because you're not accepted. And the one chick, Black Conscious Fraud Committee, she disappeared. We basically put it to her like, hey, where's your paperwork? Because she claimed that Psycho, was she Choctaw and Cherokee?
Yeah, I believe that's what it was, Choctaw and Cherokee.
Okay. Well, yeah, she claimed that's what she was. And that's how, what her family was and all this, her history, whatever. Mind you, she said that's what her grandmother told her. Then she said she had Choctaw, I think, on one side, Cherokee on the other side, but they got together and made a family. So she's both. But then she didn't grow up as that, but yet her grandmother told her she was. Just a bunch of bull. So I was like, okay. So we was like, bring us your because I kept asking her for her certificate. I kept asking her for her Indian card. Where's your documentation of these things? If you claim this, your family truly was this. So she was like, "Oh, well, I had to do my own research, and it's gonna take it." She said, "I'll have it in a couple of months." Hey, that was probably like in March or February when she popped back up. She didn't come around us. We just happened to come across her because she had been laying very low. She had been, I guess, going under other names or whatever.
I
And
definitely
so
know
this
how you talking
woman,
about with her.
yeah, this
Because she
woman's
was the
just
one
going around lying.
who was cutting me off, and I said, now because you were so rude to me for no reason, now I'm gonna I'm gonna light fire to that whole indigenous movement because I already know how to deal with y'all because I know y'all whole backstory more better than any of y'all know it. And another thing about what did you say about yeah, these people would defend anything. When I made the video showing that Dan Calloway is selling paperwork and selling sovereign citizen paperwork, somebody came to my video and said, why you didn't say the part where he's on the website where he says he's not a legal expert. And I said, how stupid are you? If he's not a legal expert, why is he trying to tell you and sell you legal paperwork? That shows you right there that he's even a bigger fraud than I
That's
was
right.
even saying. Because that's like me telling you I'm not a doctor, but then I'm trying to write you doctor prescriptions, trying to examine you and tell you that you got this wrong with you, that wrong with you, and then I'm giving disclaimers like, listen, I'm not a doctor, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm telling you I am a doctor, and I can tell you what prescription and what medicine you need to take.
And the way he, mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was, and I was like, come on, people, y'all know better than that. Y'all know better than that. And another thing about the thing, if you ever notice, they all claim to be descendants from tribes that own slaves. That's
Right.
another thing I brought up before about how a lot of black people who did, when your grandmother would say you Choctaw, Chickasaw,
Mm-hmm.
Cherokee, and all that other stuff, these were slave owning tribes. This is why a lot of those people who left those tribes as
Mm-hmm.
black people, they rejoined black society as Native Americans, but they was because they were slaves on those Native American plantations, and they grew up as Native Americans, so they just identified as that. That's why your grandmother say, "Oh, this one is," because you ever notice nobody's Apache, nobody's Comanche,
Right.
nobody's none of these other tribes that existed but didn't own slaves. They only the
I haven't
same
heard
handful of tribes.
Navajo.
Yeah, they the same. They the same tribes that only own slaves that was on the East Coast.
The swirlers. The
Yeah,
swirlers. The
yeah, like we,
Cherokees, notorious swirlers.
yeah, we like the five civilized tribes. Where are you? Where are you? When can you trace your descendants to a tribe that black people didn't run away to or was enslaved by? You never hear like these other Midwest tribes, the Plain Indians, the West Coast Indians, like from California. Nobody's never none of these, but y'all the same handful of tribes that was on the East Coast that was dealing directly with white people and trying to be like them and got fucked over in the end.
Mm-mm-mm. Truthfully, are you there? Well, truthfully,
I think she had like an emergency or something.
yeah, she did. She texted me what she was gonna do about that was like 45 minutes ago. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure. Because I know it wasn't gonna stay on that long. Um, so I'm not sure if she, was able to ask everything she wanted to ask or say or not.
Yeah,
But
I could
Go
wait
ahead.
for like another 15 minutes or so because I got to get off myself because I got stuff to work and stuff to handle in the morning. But it's like I could wait for another like 15 minutes just in case she
Okay.
actually have to because she told me something happened, so you never know. She
Right.
could be hearing us, but she just can't get to the mic right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, the whole thing is a fraud. It's a fraud, and it's gonna be another hot pseudo because once I drop this video about the paperwork, what's in the paperwork, what do you actually get? He's not gonna be able to refute none of that. He's just gonna disappear with a few of his culties, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because he refuses to debate. He
Yeah,
refuses to debate,
he
and I don't
refuses to debate.
understand that.
He refuses to
Uh-huh.
debate because he got destroyed. Remember, he did come on a channel and try to debate before with MBK and stuff and got annihilated. Remember, he said that the
Well,
real Africans are from Europe. He said, what else he say?
oh yeah, that's one
That's
of
when
his
he
things.
first made the declaration that the slave trade happened in reverse. And they asked him like the perfectly logical question. So if now you're saying the slave trade happened, and that's when he was saying that the reason. Then he admitted that DNA was real on that show because he tried to say, because then he was saying that, DNA is real. And the only reason that our DNA is coming up as African because the slave trade happened in reverse. That's the show he said that. Remember, before that, the slave trade didn't happen and DNA was fake. Then on that show,
Wow.
this DNA is real, but the only reason ours is the same as the West Africans is because we was taking the slave trade happened in reverse.
That
You
is
know,
just the dumbest crap ever.
that's exactly what Chief did too. The Chief used to be like, slavery's fake, slavery's fake, slavery's fake. Now he's screaming it happened in reverse. So yeah.
And just to show how anti-African uh how anti-African these people are. Dang, I lost my train of thought. What I it was something I was thinking about some more stuff they were saying about Black people. And it's so much. It's just so much. My mind completely went blank. But and then I heard the Dane Calloway dude was like, I heard him before saying, "Yeah, brother, we look more like." He started talking about The Rock and talking about we look more like Polynesian people. And brother, you a lighter skinned brother like myself, and this and that. And I'm thinking, okay, well, the variations in skin complexion come from us being mixed with Europeans. So what is that? Because my question to them, and nobody ever answered this either, was who are the people that they call the fake Native Americans? Who are they? Where did they come from then? Who are those people? And nobody has ever answered that. I've asked that to
I can give you the answer.
Okay.
At first, they claimed that those people were the mixed people, that the indigenous, us, the Black people, had babies with white people, and then we produced those people on the reservation. That's what they said at first. Then they switched it to, well, those are the people who came across the Bering Strait that met us when we was
Yeah.
already here. He was
I
already
was
here.
I was just about to say I was told that we are the East Coast Indians and the actual Indians are the West Coast Indians that, like he said, came over the Bering Strait.
I can't.
Yeah,
I
bunch
cannot.
of weirdos.
I cannot. Because that's what you said about the mixed thing too. That's one of the things I heard initially as well. And I'm like, when you look at people who are Native American, they don't look like no mixed person who's Black and white. They don't look. I mean, could you find some perhaps that could fall into that category and look like perhaps? But for the most part, no, they don't. They look like a completely different people.
They are of Asian.
What'd you say, Psycho?
I would say they're of Asian descent, just like
Exactly.
the Eskimos, just like the Mexicans, just Native. They all of Asian descent. They all came over from Asia on the Barren Strip. That's what happened. That's how they got here.
They was trying to say the Native Americans are just mixed people. They're just mixed black and white.
Yeah.
How dumb is that?
Well, how dumb is the whole indigenous thing anyway? Like, who
Yeah.
actually? Because I always ask people, do you really believe that white people made up this elaborate fake history to try to trick black people out of their
Thank
land?
you.
Like, why would they even go through those lengths? Like, it makes no sense. Especially when you add in the fact when they say, "Oh, we wasn't slaves, we was prisoners of war." That means they beat us in a war. So why would they need to lie to us about who land this really is if they took it from us in a war?
Me and Psycho
Like, we
been saying
lost.
that.
Like, if we lost the war, they don't need to lie to us. They could just say, "Listen, this is your land, but we took it." Just like
Thank
they did to the
you.
Native Americans on the reservation. Nobody ain't lying to them. So why they gotta lie
Nobody
to
can
us?
answer that either. That's right. That's right. Because I've asked the same thing. Why would they need to come up with this elaborate scam, with this elaborate lie that this land was really ours when they took the land from somebody else in the first place? Why do they have to make up a lie that it was from us, though? What difference do that make when they had us as slaves and when this ain't their land in the first damn place? So that makes no sense. They had to lie to us, though, and say, "Oh, this ain't black people land. This is Native American. These people's land." Like what? That makes no sense whatsoever. And none of them will really address that head on either. They just come up with some more nonsense. And as far as the Dane Calloway guy, like he knows how to play. He knows how to play upon people's emotions. You know, being a scammer. And one of the things he does is he uses uh, supposedly photo evidence. Like, remember if y'all seen, I think one of his most popular videos was where the thumbnail had a picture of like Abraham Lincoln on one side and then another man who's supposed to be the black Abraham Lincoln or whatever on the other side. I don't know if y'all saw that, but that's like the thumbnail to one of his biggest videos. And I'm like, so he sits there and uses these little trick photography and these little pictures and stuff, and people fall for it because again, it makes them feel good. Um, it makes them feel like they're not black, like they're not African. So yeah.
Yeah, I address that. A lot of times these pictures are coming from places that people. He's not telling you where these pictures are from, who these
Mm-hmm.
people really are in these pictures. They're just being disingenuous. And a lot of times when they'll take a picture and place a black person from America's picture next to somebody from Africa, that's also disingenuous because, again, we didn't come from one part of Africa. We came from virtually every part of Africa. You can DNA test black people as a collective, and you'll find DNA samples from literally every part of Africa. And we've been
Mm-hmm.
amalgamating. That's why we don't necessarily look like one group of black people from one region in Africa. We don't. That's the reason why we don't actually look like just one region. So you can't do that. But I also want to address this one other thing about somebody saying, well, weren't there already black people here? And the answer to
Yeah.
that was that maybe 50,000 years ago, there were some black people who walked here, like black people who walked out of Africa and walked all over the earth. But those black people went extinct. They died because we all know that the Native Americans, when they came over here, they found people over here. They might have been black or they might have been, some type of hybrid with some other humanoid. I don't know the exact term, like some type of
Mm-hmm.
other Cro-Magnus or Neanderthal hybrid, like the
Mm-hmm.
white people or whatever, and they just kept their melanin. But we do know the Native Americans who came across that Bering Strait killed them and took the land from them and amalgamated with them. or whatever the case may be, and just exterminated them out. And even if there were, that's not us. Those people didn't exist anymore. They're gone. And people like to keep acting like people can't go extinct. Like the Tasmanians. Tasmania was a black island. Tasmanians don't exist anymore. They were exterminated, wiped off the face of the earth. Just like a lot of Native Americans who lived in the Americas, they were exterminated, wiped off the face of the earth.
Easter Island was almost exterminated.
Yeah, like it's several people keep pretending like that can't happen. That's another thing that they try to say, like, how do you believe that 90% of the people died on this continent? I'm like you don't believe disease can wipe out 90% of a population? Like, where have you been? You don't believe that if you came if somebody brought Ebola into your city right now, a bunch of people won't be dropping dead by the tens of thousands? We ain't never had Ebola before. We don't got no immunity or nothing like that built up to fight that.
Right.
We gonna drop just the same way they did. The Native Americans didn't live in close proximity to animals like Europeans did. They didn't have no immunity built up from those type of diseases and nothing like that. They didn't exist. Like, if you bring any type of disease to any place where it's not native and you bring it to the population and they have no resistance built up towards it, they're gonna die. They're gonna die in ways you can't believe. They're gonna die like somebody released a biological weapon on them, because that's exactly what was happening anyway.
Yeah. And Psycho, what kind of people lived on Easter Island?
South Pacific type people, like Hawaiians, like they wasn't Hawaiians, but they the same type individuals, the South Pacific.
Okay.
Yeah.
They could have been like a Micronesian. Matter of fact, I don't think Micronesian. They probably was some type of Polynesian.
Yeah.
Because the Micronesians is like, I think, like the Asian looking Pacific Islanders, and then you got the Polynesians, which is like the blackish / Asian lookingish ones, like the Hawaiians, and you got the Melanesians, the black ones.
And that's where they have those really big heads at, right?
Yeah. Some of the indigenous people try to claim those heads.
Like the emoji, because it's an emoji for them. Okay.
And that's another thing that they try to claim, that there's some type of Melanesian. That's another claim they was making before that I debunked. That they was trying to claim that they was some type of Melanesian. Like, oh, we ain't from Africa, we some type of Melanesian.
Oh gosh. Wow, these people done really did a number on us. They done really did a number on us. Folks, people have really bought into that. Now, I have not been to Africa. I have not. I would love to go. But one of the things I do understand is that I understand propaganda. And I understand how, certain things can be pushed to look a certain way. And that's one of the things, like what you're talking about, National Geographic. And they've, made an effort over a long period of time to push Africa as being of savages and of people with, just animals, basically. And a lot of these people, these Aboriginal people, like I mentioned earlier, they take on that type of mindset when they talk about Africans, when they talk about Africa. And then I've seen where they've had African people. Now, and these are the games they play. So they say this thing, oh, Africa is a European term, or it's a white term. That ain't even the name and all this stuff. That's just semantics. Those are just games being played to try to get people off course. So then if you say, okay, Akibulan, now what's next? Okay, so Africa, okay, yeah. Then they go into Africa's not a country. Well, who said it's a country? It's a continent. We know this. There's over 53 nations in Africa. Okay. But they were like, well, y'all say African. People who are actually from countries in Africa, they don't say that. Well, the reason they don't say that is because they know where they're from. We don't. So we use Africa as a basic generic term, or people may say West African. And that's
And
because we've been disconnected culturally.
yes, and on top of that, we came from every part of Africa. African
Mm-hmm.
American is the perfect. I mean, us calling ourselves African American is the perfect term. Because again, if you take a DNA test, you will see you got blood from damn near every part of Africa. People don't even know that the slave
Yeah.
trade extended to East Africa. That you would have Portuguese slave ships going to Madagascar, going to the Swahili coast, even going as far as Mogadishu, and bringing slaves to the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
Sailing right around Africa, bringing slaves to the Americas. Most people don't know that they had that in South Africa. They had in Southern Africa. They had the Portuguese had slave routes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They had slaves. They had all that. It was everywhere. You had black people being brought as slaves across the Sahel into West Africa to be sold as slaves. We literally came from everywhere. Like I'd have seen a million DNA videos where black people find out they got DNA that go to Kenya, Ethiopia, or Madagascar, Tanzania, South Africa. We did North Africa. We the totality of the people. So that's a perfect name for us. Again, somebody from Africa coming straight from Africa, like you said, they coming from one part. We are amalgamation of people from every part.
Right. Right.
And they also understand that this is America. When people say Africa, they just basically mean black people. We don't play
Exactly.
the whole country game, the tribe game, the nationality game. When a white person say Africa, they look at Africa as one place. It's not a country, but it might as well be one country because they just know there's black people over there and they don't like them and they see them all as savages. Point blank, period. Don't care what side of Africa you came from, what tribe you came from, what group of DNA, what's your religion. They don't care about none of that. That's why they
That's
generalize them
right.
as just one people. Just like they did Native Americans. When they came here, they was all Indians. They didn't care about you was from
That's
this
right.
tribe, that tribe, this tribe. The only time they cared about that was when they was going to use that to divide and conquer you. Otherwise than that, that
Right.
was one people. They didn't care. They didn't care nothing about this religion, that region, this region. You from the East Coast, you from the Midwest, you were a Plains Indian, you were Florida Indian, you were West Coast Indian. They didn't care about none of that. You were Eskimo in Alaska or whatever. Hope. You were Hawaii. They didn't call Hawaiians Indians, but you know what I'm saying, right? They
Right.
didn't care about none of
Uh-huh.
that. They don't care about none of that. So that's another semantic game they play. You understand this is America. You understand that when people say African, that's what they mean. They just mean black.
Right.
And they don't go by none of that land anyway, because all those countries is fake countries that Europeans made up anyway. So when they divided it up, they didn't divide it up as in, oh, these are different people. They saw it as y'all just one people, and this one gonna rule this group over here and that group right there, and they're gonna just name the people inside their territory.
That's right. And then
That's it.
they'll say,
Yeah,
oh,
that's it.
these African people said they weren't taught about the slave trade. And
A lot of African people
what does that mean?
wasn't being taught about the slave trade. A lot of Africans don't even know the slave trade touched their part of Africa. There's Kenyans who don't know that one people from Kenya was enslaved in Kenya, and Kenyan slaves was taken by the Arabs and by white people. People in Kenya who don't know that. There's a lot of African countries where people don't know their history because they don't teach history. It was a time in Nigeria where they didn't teach Nigerian history. Most Nigerians didn't even know they had connections to the slave trade. That's why some Africans come here over here and they think that's one of the reasons some Africans come over here and they think that we two separate people because they don't even
Right.
know that the slave trade even touched their part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what the scramble for Africa was. They don't know nothing. They just know white people just showed up one day and next thing you know, they created a country and they got a new identity.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
you can't even use them because, again, most of their ancestors who could have even told them about the slave trade ended up enslaved themselves. People keep forgetting that. A lot of people, slavery touched everybody. It ripped families apart, villages apart,
Mm-hmm.
kingdoms apart. People being
Mm-hmm.
so much of their culture is missing because of the slave trade. People
That's
in
right.
Africa, their culture is missing. It's not intact.
And that's what I tell them too, is that being of African descent is a birthright. So whether or not somebody who's actually Native African now or whatever, just because they don't acknowledge me or acknowledge so-called black folk or Negroes or whatever, what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't make me any less African or any less of African descent because some person in Zimbabwe said they're not African or we don't know about the. And that doesn't change that. That's what I try to impart on them because they try to take that and laugh. Oh, they said they put some African guy on one of their channel before. He was like, yeah, something about they don't claim African American. I don't give a damn if they don't claim it or not. That don't change us being of African descent. That doesn't change because a few people don't recognize it. Because what they don't tell you about all the people over there who do recognize us as being of African descent. They don't tell you about with all of the different things that have happened, like for instance with Mike Brown and just a bunch of things that were happening, especially in that during that period of time. I saw so many people, somebody I know who's African sent me all of these different videos where they was over there raising hell behind what was happening to us here. And those are not the things that are going to be shown for the most part because that's what they're saying. These are our African brothers and sisters. Look at how they're being treated there. And they was wanting to do something about it and they was speaking out about it. And they were like in mourning and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, and again, people don't understand that they don't understand the context of when people say that we not they people. One, because people again in Africa have tribal consciousness, where if you're not in my tribe, you're not my people. That has nothing to do with whether we actually Africans or not. So that's when they say that that you're not African. They basically saying you don't have a tribe in Africa. Point blank period. That's what they saying. Two, a lot of them say that because again, like I explained earlier, they don't know better. Three is because a lot of Africans in America pretend that they don't understand because they just coonish because they trying to. That's the reason they even got to America. People don't understand how hard it is to get to America and be black. It's super hard. Like you could come to America. I grew up in New York. I done met a million white people who just got on a plane and just got off the plane and they had like $5 in their pocket and they just started living in America. They ain't go through immigration or nothing. Nobody's trying to deport them or nothing. They just living in America. You can't do that if you're African. They'll track you down to the end of the earth. They'll deport you for hopping the turnstile if you African. They'll do all that to you if you're African. So that doesn't. So those people, they examine them, and those are super coonish people that want to distance themselves from black people in America as much as humanly possible. So to even say that you're not African, that's what they mean. They're trying to say that you're not our people. Don't affiliate us with them. Just the same way you say you're indigenous and you're not African, don't affiliate yourself with them. They mean it the same way. You don't mean it as, oh, we didn't come from Africa.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up because I haven't heard back from her, and I know she's probably handling her business. So,
yeah,
and so I know, you got to get up. Psycho is late for him because I know y'all on the East Coast, so it's 12:30. So, okay, well, Haven, it was good to talk to you. You dropped a lot of knowledge. You want to give everybody information because you got like 50 channels.
Yeah. So I just like this. Just type in Haven Bullets into the chat to the search engine and channels that come up. That's me. That's me. You'll know that's me. I got a gazillion channels. You could, if you don't think I don't block people. So if you think I got something wrong, or you're not feeling something in the video, or you think something is wrong, or you got further questions, just type it in there and tell me. I gotta apologize though, because I meant to make a video of this because I had a lot of Yvette Carnell people attacking me, so I was cursing them out. So don't get it twisted. I'm not the person who just if you disagree with something, I'm gonna attack you. That was just them because they just dick riders and they another group of culties who just anti-African based on some
Yep.
fakeness that white people made up. Because Yvette Carnell, I don't want to get too deep off in that, but she claims she's working with data, raw data, which is a lie because every data she produces has percentages in it, and we know raw data doesn't come in percentage form. If it came in percentage form, that means somebody did the work for it. And like Winston Churchill said, it never believe statistics that you didn't fabricate yourself. And that basically means that you can make a statistic say anything. That's the first thing you learn on statistics school. You can make a statistic say anything. That's why it doesn't just matter what the statistics say. You got to know the context. You got to know what the person counted and did not count. This is how Bill O'Reilly got in trouble years ago when he used to say black people were responsible for 50% of the crime. Then he switched it to 50% of the violent crime. Then he switched it again to 50% of something. And people kept saying, we got the raw data. Your numbers are not adding up. What are you doing? And they found out that he wasn't counting rape, sexual assault, robbery, arson,
child neglect and abuse.
And he wasn't counting it. And the reason he could do that is because, again, statistics work where you get to count what you want to count. Like, I already knew that she didn't know what she was talking about when she quoted like a statistic saying that the average African is like worth $300,000 in America. And like, it's like, if you believe that, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
And you know, she's on that LGBT anyway, so that's already out the door. So yeah.
Yeah, but I'm gonna end up wrapping this up. You know, anybody got something to say, you know, type, hit me up. You believe I'm wrong, I'm right, hit me up and say what you gotta say. And you know, on that note, family, peace. I'm out.
All right. Peace, Haven.
Peace.
Peace, Haven. All right. You got anything you wanted to say before we get out of here, Renee?
No, I'm gonna go because I didn't get to do something I needed to do earlier, real quick for tomorrow. But yeah, no, that was it. I mean, he dropped a lot of knowledge. He was definitely on point. You know, y'all already know. A lot of y'all already know how we feel on this, and you know, I'm sure Truthfully will be back on soon, and I'm sure she'll break down further. You know, how she feels about the issue and everything. And, you know, it's an ongoing discussion with this topic because we know that we are Black people. We are Black and proud. We stand for Black power. I don't give a damn about no crayon colors and all this kind of. I don't care. I don't want to hear none of that. It's not time for that. It's not time for that. We don't have time to do all that. Most of our people identify with Blackness. Blackness is a term, just like a lot of groups of people were given, the red man, the yellow man, the this or that, because of the hues and undertones of their skin. I don't have a problem with being called Black people because I know the people I originate from were damn near Black people. They were very dark, ebony complexion people. And I don't have a problem with that. And I wear that proudly. So yes, be one, Black first, all day, every day, Black power to the fullest. Thank you.
Definitely. Y'all all ready. Let's see. Do me a favor, family. If you haven't already, please click like, share, subscribe. Be sure to check us out. You know, we always trying to bring y'all as much content as possible. We appreciate all y'all for coming through. That's for my supporters out there. And for my haters, y'all already know what time it is. Please don't be afraid. As always, click dislike, share, and unsubscribe. Go ahead and find a different platform to go hate on. Thank you very much. And let's see, to my supporters, please click the notification bell so you can be notified whenever I do go live. If YouTube ever get their shit together with the bell, that's a whole different topic. We ain't gonna get into that right now. Let's see. Also, for those who don't know, I got a Patreon now. The link was being posted periodically through the chat. You can also find the description box. bots, excuse me. Please join and become a patron if you're looking for any exclusive content. I will be posting some on there soon. You know, if you want to, or if you just want to support the channel, I appreciate it. Let's see. I'm also on Twitter and the Gram too, family, at SYKOPATHeist, spelled the same way as the channel. You can catch me there. And as always, please hit up our sister Renee at Renee Black Graphics on Facebook. If you're looking for any artwork, designs, or logos, she does excellent work. Please hit her up. Serious responses only. And yes, she will take care of you. And for those that don't know, see, we might do another show before then, but just in case we don't, on Saturdays, you know, I do my wake and bake bills Saturday morning-ish. You know, I do my wake and bake bills, so you can catch is definitely catch me definitely on Saturday mornings, and we also on Saturday nights we had the game nights that we also do. You know, lately we've been doing a lot of Hood Jeopardy. We also do a few other games. You know, so we try to switch it up from time to time, have a little bit of fun. Check us out on Saturday nights as well. And yeah. I want to shout out everybody out there, the live chat who came through. I want to thank Heavy Bullets for coming through, giving us that information. Shout out to Truthfully Honest, who also was here. You know, she had some things she had to take care of, but shout out to her. And yeah, holla black at your boy. Peace and black power. We out.
Peace.